You didn't say anything, they hurt you. You felt it deep in your chest, that specific kind of pain that makes it hard to breathe for a second. And then you smiled, or you changed the subject, or you just went quiet and hoped no one noticed. And the worst part, no one did notice, because you're too good at this. This video is about you, the ones who go silent when the pain is loudest. And by the end of it, I think you're going to understand yourself in a way that might actually change something. Let me tell you about a girl named Mara. She's sitting at a dinner table with people she loves. Someone makes a joke, it's directed at her, her choices, her dreams, the things she's been quietly proud of. Everyone laughs, and Mara laughs too, the loudest one in the room. Later that night, she's lying in the dark replaying it. Not the joke, the laugh, her laugh. And she's thinking, why did I do that? Why didn't I say something? Here's what Mara doesn't know yet. Her silence wasn't weakness. It wasn't cowardice. It was a survival strategy so deeply wired into her nervous system that it now runs without her permission. And maybe that sounds familiar. There's a concept in psychology called emotional suppression, but forget the textbook version. Here's what it actually looks like in real life. You feel something, pain, anger, disappointment, the full wave of it hits you, and then almost instantly another part of your brain steps in like a security guard and says, not here, not now, maybe not ever, so you swallow it, you package it up neatly, and you carry it with you everywhere. People who do this aren't emotionally weak. They're often the most emotionally intelligent people in the room. They can read the energy of a space in seconds. They know exactly what they feel, they just don't say it. And that's where the real story begins. Because staying silent when you're hurt is not one thing, it's never just one thing. For some people, the silence started very early. Think about it. When you were young, what happened when you expressed pain? When you cried, were you held or were you told to stop? When you were upset, did someone sit with you or did the air in the room get heavier and more tense? Children are incredibly adaptive. If expressing emotion led to conflict, to being dismissed, to making someone else uncomfortable, the child learns. They learn that feelings are burdens, that their pain is an inconvenience, that it is safer to be okay than to be honest. And that child grows up, but the lesson stays, so now you're an adult, fully capable of having conversations, of setting limits, of saying that hurt me. But some deeper, older part of you still believes that doing so will cost you something. The relationship. The love, the safety, so you stay silent. And here's the twist that most people never see coming. The silence feels like protection, but what it actually does is teach people how to treat you. Think about that for a moment. Every time you said nothing, every time you absorbed the pain and kept smiling, you were sending a message. Not consciously, not deliberately, but you were showing the people around you that what they did was acceptable, that you could take it, that there were no consequences. You weren't protecting the relationship. You were slowly, quietly resenting it. That resentment is the part no one talks about, because people who stay silent aren't cold or unfeeling. They feel everything deeply, sometimes too deeply. But the feelings don't disappear just because they weren't spoken. They go somewhere else. They become distance. They become the way you stop initiating conversations, the way you start needing less space in a room that used to feel like home. Here's a real example. Daniel is one of those people everyone calls chill. Laid back, easy to be around. His friends never see him angry. His partner has never once heard him say you hurt me. But Daniel has an exit strategy built into every relationship he's ever had. The moment he gets hurt and the hurt goes unspoken, a small part of him starts leaving. Not dramatically, just incrementally, a little less available, a little more in his head, a little more alone in a room full of people. He doesn't see himself as someone who gives up on people. He sees himself as someone who eventually runs out of something he can't name. That something is trust, not in other people, in himself. Trust that he is allowed to take up space, that his pain matters, that saying that hurt me won't destroy everything. And then there's the other kind of silence, the kind that comes from a different place entirely. Some people go quiet not because they're afraid of conflict, but because they've convinced themselves that their pain isn't valid enough to mention. They run a constant internal audit. Was I actually hurt, or am I being too sensitive? Did they mean it that way, or am I overreacting? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe if I just think about it differently. This is what psychologists call emotional invalidation. Except in this case, the person doing the invalidating is themselves. They became their own silencer before anyone else had the chance to be. If this is you, pause for a second, just sit with that. Because this pattern often forms in people who were told in one way or another that their feelings were too much, too dramatic, too intense, too inconvenient. And so you learned to make the verdict yourself before anyone else could. You started shrinking on your own behalf. Here's what I need you to hear. Silence is not the same as peace. Let me say that again. Silence is not the same as peace. Peace is what you feel when something genuinely doesn't bother you. Silence is what you perform when it bothers you deeply and you've decided again that the cost of honesty is too high. And the cruelest part, the people who do this the most are often the ones described by others as so strong, so calm, so solid. No one knows you're drowning because you learned to do it quietly. Let's talk about what this actually costs you. Not in the big dramatic ways, in the slow, invisible ways. It costs you closeness, because genuine intimacy requires someone to know when you're hurting. When you hide it perfectly, you may keep the relationship, but you lose the depth of it. You become known but not truly known. present but not fully there. It costs you your own voice. Every time you swallow something, it becomes slightly harder to speak the next time. The silence builds on itself. Until one day, you're not even sure what you want anymore. Not because you don't have wants, but because you've spent so long ignoring them that you've lost fluency in your own feelings. And it costs you the very thing you were trying to protect: connection. Because you cannot be truly connected to someone who only sees the performance of you. The edited, composed, I'm totally fine version of you. That's not intimacy, that's theater. So why is it so hard to change? Because the silence works. In the short term, it genuinely works. No uncomfortable conversation, no risk of rejection, no moment of vulnerability that could go wrong. The pain stays contained. The relationship stays intact. Everything stays manageable. But manageable isn't the same as meaningful. And this is the realization that changes things for people. Not a technique, not a strategy, just this: the silence was always a trade. You were trading depth for safety, truth for comfort, and for a long time that trade felt worth it. But you're here watching this, which means some part of you is starting to question the terms. There's a moment, and maybe you've had it, where you say something true, just one small true thing: I didn't like that. That actually hurt me. I've been struggling with this for a while, and the world doesn't end. In fact, something unexpected happens. The person in front of you looks at you differently, not with pity, not with judgment, with recognition. Because most people are also carrying things they haven't said. And when you speak first, when you crack the silence, you give them permission to do the same. Your honesty doesn't just free you, it creates space for others to be free too. Here is the truth about people who stay silent when they're hurt: they are not broken. They are not emotionally unavailable. They are not cold. They are people who learned very early that love came with conditions, that safety required performance, that the best way to keep something was to never ask for too much. They are people who became experts at everyone else's comfort while quietly neglecting their own. And you deserve to be someone who is known, not just liked, not just needed, but actually known. In your pain, in your confusion, in your very human, very valid need to sometimes say, that wasn't okay, you don't have to transform overnight. You don't have to become someone who says everything they feel the moment they feel it. But maybe, just maybe, the next time something hurts, before you package it away and carry it alone, you could pause. And ask yourself, what would I say if I believed I was worth listening to? Because you are, you always were.